It is a Friday. It is May 17th, and this, my friends, is the Hockey Talk Show. Welcome in, the only show on the internet where you can have live interaction with the host, back and forth, and of course, have a little fun talking some hockey. HockeyTalkShow.com. We're available on Facebook and YouTube Live, and of course, via the podcast all around your normal podcast networks. That goes down on TuneIn, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and, of course, Spotify. Super excited to be here with you guys, and we have a lot of hockey action to talk about. This is going to be a heavily dominated New York Rangers hockey talk show. The Rangers are making all the news. John Davidson is in as team president. I'll tell you how it went down, what exactly happened. And more than anything, let's go deeper than John Davidson. Let's talk about what this New York Ranger team is going to look like going into the 2019-2020 season, because I think it's looking pretty damn exciting if you're a Rangers fan. The Canes are out of the playoffs. They've been swept. We'll talk about what happened there and the bleak outlook that everybody is painting for the Carolina Hurricanes going into next season. Some of the issues and some of the things that I cautioned everybody about, Tom Dundon, before this season, I think is starting to rear its ugly head in for next season. So we're going to talk about that. And of course, we've got some NHL trade rumors and free agent rumors and all that stuff and more on this episode of the Hockey Talk Show. All right, welcome in, everybody. Chris, welcome into the Facebook chat. Everybody who's in on YouTube, give a quick hello, and wherever you're watching or listening from, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up and share this video as soon as you can. Do that several times throughout the course of the show, too. That never, ever hurts whatsoever. Like I said, we got a busy show here today, and don't forget, you can check the Hockey Talk Show. Our official website is HockeyTalkShow.com for all the latest updates on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and everything else. All right, let's talk about John Davidson. Not a total surprise, right? Not a total surprise whatsoever. And we're definitely going to get into the Bruins a little bit. We're going to get into San Jose. Yeah, it's true. We got San Jose, St. Louis. We got a Game 4 tonight. I have pretty strong feelings on who I think is going to win this one. So we'll get through all of it for sure. Absolutely for sure. But let's start with John Davidson and the New York Rangers, because this isn't a total surprise. But again, with a lot of the surprises that we've had so far this year, the actual event of what happened isn't a total surprise, but the nature in which it happened kind of surprises me a little bit. You know what I mean? It kind of surprises me a little bit. And I was a little surprised to learn that the Rangers only reached out to the Columbus Blue Jackets today. And I was a little surprised to learn how quickly the whole damn thing came together. Apparently, at some point in the afternoon, the Rangers reached out to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Columbus Blue Jackets granted John Davidson the ability to go out and talk to the New York Rangers, which we all kind of suspected was going to happen anyway. And then, shortly thereafter that conversation, John Davidson tendered his resignation to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and just like that, he was out of it. Now, there was a little bit of a tip of the hand as to how this would be going down. And the one thing that I haven't been able to get down to the bottom of just yet is, and this didn't really make a ton of news, so this might be the first time you're hearing it, but Jim Schoenfeld, who's been the vice president for the New York Rangers and an assistant general manager for like 17 seasons or something crazy like that. He's been there forever. It's 13 or 17 or something. He resigned from the New York Rangers just yesterday. And to me, that was a little bit of a tip of a cap of he threw his hat into the ring to be the new president and didn't get it. I think that's what it was. I can't know that for sure. The only bit of news we have on this is from the New York Rangers, so they're not going to go ahead and say why he resigned. But they did put out a press release that he resigned. It did come from former president Glenn Sather. So that was Glenn's last bit of business as president. I would be surprised if he actually sent out the release whatsoever. I think Glenn Sather is kind of already on a beach somewhere, but it's got to come from somebody. So it makes sense that it comes from Glenn Sather and not James Dolan. But yeah, the statement from Glenn Sather on Jim Schoenfeld was, quote, "In nearly 2 decades with the Rangers, Jim made an impact on every level of the organization. His tireless efforts and contributions were vital to the extended run of success we experienced during his tenure in New York." The former defenseman coached and spent 17 seasons in the Rangers organization. So him going yesterday, again, a little bit of a tip of the hand that he didn't get the gig. Somebody else did. And now we know that that's John Davidson. And it went down pretty darn quickly. Like I said, the offer came in this afternoon. The ask, I should say, came in this afternoon to go out and say, can we talk to John? And they said yes. And then about 5 minutes later, John's resignation was on the table over there in Columbus. Now, John had some nice things to say about the Blue Jackets, and this was John's quote: "I'm excited and humbled to be named the president of the New York Rangers. The opportunity of rejoining the Rangers organization and returning home to New York, where my family and I have spent so many wonderful years, was one I simply could not pass up. I want to thank James Dolan for offering me this chance to come home." Now, a lot of you are going to ask me, is John Davidson the guy? Is he going to be good? Why is he so good? What makes John Davidson so good? Look at the next two paragraphs. This is what makes John Davidson good. He's smart. He's caring. He's compassionate. He knows the right things to say. It's like a 5-tool hitter in baseball. Why was Barry Bonds such a good hitter? Well, besides steroids, he had natural talent and ability. Being a president in an organization requires talent and ability, of which John Davidson has a ton. It's not a physically demanding job. It's not a, intellectually demanding job, but you got to have the talent and the skills to pull it off. And it takes patience and skill, and you have to hire good people and put them around you, and you have the trust that they'll do a good job. It's being a good manager. And look at the next paragraphs. "I would like to thank John P. McConnell for the opportunity to join the Blue Jackets organization in 2012, his guidance, support, and friendship over the last 7 years, and for allowing my family and me to embark on this new journey with the Rangers. Thanks, boss, for letting me get the dream job that I've always wanted." That's not uncommon when one person leaves for another position. But here's the next part. Not only did he thank his former employee, he thanked his former employee. He had the class and the wherewithal to realize that none of this would be possible unless the St. Louis Blues took a chance on him in the first place. Because if you don't know anything about John Davidson, he was a hell of a player for the Rangers, and then he retired and went into the broadcast booth. And broadcasters, as you know, can talk an awful big game. They don't necessarily have the ability to actually put their hands in the dirt and do the dirty work, right? It's not very common that somebody goes from the broadcast side of this business and becomes a manager, a coach, a president. It really, really does not happen often. Now, managers, coaches, whoever can get fired, go into broadcasting, and then make their way back into the front office. That's happened. But to just be purely a broadcaster / former player and make that transition is not easy. But he did it with the St. Louis Blues back in 2006, and he had the wherewithal to thank the organization, saying, and I quote, "Additionally, I'd like to thank the St. Louis Blues organization for giving me an opportunity to join their front office in 2006 and spend 6 fantastic years there." That is important. That is important for a variety of reasons. And I'm going to tell you why. Again, not everybody would have thrown that thank you out there. John Davidson is smart. He knew to do it. He knew it was part of his journey. Okay. 2, he knows that, going into the number one, like he's going to get screwed. Like he literally took all the scrutiny out of his hiring, took all of it out, all of it. He took every ability to be like, oh, took it out. He did all the like. He's just a really, really smart hockey guy. Let's talk about his time in St. Louis because he did a couple of really, really important things, and he really helped turn the St. Louis Blues around. If you remember, back in '06, the Blues were that team that was struggling and trying to find an identity and trying to find a way to have playoff success and go the distance. Now, they never won a cup. He fell short in that aspect of things, but he did some important things with Doug Armstrong and the other management team down there in St. Louis. He made some really good moves. I think his best moves ever made were with the Columbus Blue Jackets, though, because he took Jarmo Kekalainen from St. Louis, which is why it's important to thank them in here, because a lot of the basis of his success came from St. Louis. He took Jarmo Kekalainen from St. Louis, who was a head scout, I believe, at the time, or maybe head of player development, whatever his title was at the time, and he made him a general manager. And he was the first European general manager in the league, and it was an important step. It was a move he wasn't afraid to make. He knew Jarmo was ready. He recognized the talent and the ability, and he went out there and he got him. And if you remember what the Columbus Blue Jackets looked like 7 years ago, they were kind of the laughing stock of the league. Remember, they were in between general managers. They were lost. Just the way the Rangers are lost right now under the ownership of James Dolan, the Columbus Blue Jackets were lost under the ownership of John P. McConnell. And John came in, John Davidson, and he straightened things out. He became that rock. And again, I saw all the questions on the Hockey Talk Show page earlier when we, helped break the news that John Davidson was going to the Rangers. People saying, well, why? I don't get it. What's the appeal? What does he do? He brings stability, okay? He brings just knowledge. It's like, it's like watching your dad, right? Like, you watch your dad do something, and it's like, how do you know how to do that, Dad? Well, he's been doing it for like 40 years. Dad, how do you know how to change a tire? Or Mom, how do you know how to, shimmy the door because the keys are locked in? It comes with experience and time. And he's got a lot of that. He's been around the game for a really, really long time, and he knows when to make the right moves. He knows when to make the right decisions. He knows who to hire, knows when to trust them, knows when to keep them in the right positions. He just has the experience. It's intangible. Sometimes it's things that you can't exactly point out all the time, but John Davidson has it because St. Louis was successful under his stewardship, and so were the Columbus Blue Jackets. And the Columbus Blue Jackets, sans the last year, which I can't really blame him for because everybody kind of saw the writing on the wall that it was his time to move back over to New York. Ever since Glenn Sather announced that he was going to be moving on, the Columbus Blue Jackets made every single right move. And even in this time now, which I disagree with all their acquisitions and at the trade deadline, they're still in a really good position where they have a ton of cap space. I think we talked about it, like $30-something million in cap space that they're going to be able to use to replenish what they wind up losing in the offseason. So that's what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to stay with Jeff Gordon. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. He'll make that decision. But he's going to be that rock. He's going to be the guy that runs interference. James Dolan no longer has to be involved in the day-to-day operations of this franchise. He's taken that away from him. When they have a question on who should be paid and who's the free agent and who's this and the budget and this and that, and blah, 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 he's going to be the guy that's going to be there to give the answers, not James Dolan. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to make a big difference. And he's going to bring stability and accountability. And he's going to give people opportunities. And by the way, he's also not a bad scout. He also has an eye for talent. So thumbs up if you're a Ranger fan and you like the move for John Davidson coming over. Now, I do want to point out one more thing. And we're going to talk about some free agent stuff in a little bit here. But on this topic of John Davidson, is this not the absolute best opportunity for Mr. Davidson to bring this cat right over to the New York Rangers. I mean, we all knew the rumors were Artemi Panarin was going. I thought that the Islanders were going to be able to actually give the Rangers a run for their money in acquiring Panarin's services. Now I feel like Lou's going to make a phone call and kick the tires on it and see what's what. Again, the Islanders are at least 2 to 3 years ahead of the Rangers as far as being able to compete for a championship. But you've got a deep relationship with Panarin now at this point. I mean, I just don't see anything stopping the New York Rangers from picking this guy up in the offseason. And by the way, Panarin, who's making, what is he making? He's on a really cap-friendly $6 million deal right now, is maybe the most talented offensive player that's available in this offseason as far as unrestricted free agents go. Restricted free agents, there's a ton of talent out there. As far as UFAs go and forwards, not really that many. Past Panarin, you got Duchesne. Skinner scored more goals than him, but everybody else is right there around the 26, 25, 28 goal mark where Panarin is. But Panarin has the most points out of any unrestricted free agent that's available. That includes Jeff Skinner, who had 40 goals because he only had 23 assists. This guy can absolutely command north of $10 to $11 million. John Davidson might be able to keep that number down. John Davidson might be the guy to go in and be like, look, you've been with me in Columbus. It worked. I know you want to move to the Rangers. I'm here now. Watch me and Jeff and whoever. We're going to build this thing together. I'm not expecting you to leave a lot of money on the table here, but come in at a cap-friendly number so that we got some money to throw around to some other people. Because then you got to think, well, does Duchesne follow him right over? Does Ryan Dzingel, who scored 26 goals, does he follow Artemi Panarin right over? You got to wonder. But here's the thing. You can get awfully crazy if you're a New York Rangers fan and thinking, well, oh my God, we got $19 million in cap space. Could we get Panarin? Could we get Dzingel? Could we get Panarin and Skinner? Imagine Panarin and Skinner around Mika Zibanejad. That'd be something else to watch. I'll tell you that much. But, you know, JD is going to be the guy that's going to be like, nope, hold on, patience, not so fast. Slow it down. Let's figure it out. Let's build long-term here. And that's going to be one of the differences in John Davidson. Speaking of which, as if we needed to give the Ranger fans more reasons to be excited, again, building to the draft and all the things that we talk about here on the show, how about Capo Keko? How about this kid? Did you see this goal the other night? He is killing it in the World Championships. Considered the number 2 prospect in the upcoming NHL entry draft. And guess who's sitting there with the big fat number 2 draft pick? The New York Rangers. They could wind up landing this kid.
He has is he takes the puck from below the line where his feet are to put it in front of the goal post and dunk it in the empty net. What a beauty.
I mean, dear God, was that not a goal or what? Take a look at this move here, too. This was his first goal of the tournament. He comes from behind the net, through the defender's skates, picks it up, puts it in between the goaltender's legs, and in the net. Dear Lord. My goodness, man. That is a highly skilled goal. You want some more? You want another one? Take a look at this move that he did in practice as he comes in on the goaltender and bounces his stick off the ice, catches it, dekes, backhand over the glove. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Guy bounced the butt of his stick off the ice. My God, man. And then went backhand top shelf over the glove. Holy cow. Could you imagine landing this Capo Capo Caco and Artemi Panarin in the same offseason, and then putting them together with Mika Zibanejad and Pavel Buchnevich and all the guys you got there. By the way, the New York Rangers have got to clean up their roster. I was complaining about this roster last year, and I'm going to complain about it this year. Jimmy VC, I just don't see it. He never panned out. Ryan Strome stinks. He scored 18 goals this year. He's not going to get top 6 minutes. He's not a top 6 forward. He'll give you 18 goals when he's playing top 6 minutes, but as soon as you get a good top 6 forward, he goes down to the third line, and then he starts contributing completely nothing. The Rangers need to get away from players like this. They need to get away from players like this in a big way. And also, I think Chris Kreider, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Chris Kreider, because this guy has got to be the most frustrating 28-goal scorer in the National Hockey League. I mean, he scored 28 goals and 52 points, and it's like you almost never even noticed him. I bet you half the even diehard Ranger fans completely forgot that Chris Kreider nearly scored 30 goals this year. So they got some things to think about. What do you do with Henrik Lundqvist? Again, I would trade him. I'd get whatever I could for him. I know he said he's committed to staying. I just don't think it'll happen. I think the smart move is to cut ties. And if you're going to do unpopular moves like getting rid of Henrik Lundqvist or trading away, Chris Kreider, the optimism that comes with hiring John Davidson is going to be the thing that will help you get through that. And it'll help you get through that in a major, major way. So a lot of exciting things to come for the New York Rangers here. We're sitting there at the number 2 draft pick looking at Capo Caco with just drooling. You're sitting there now with John Davidson, who just came from Columbus, and the number 1 unrestricted free agent happens to be coming from Columbus as well. You were already well rumored to get him, so that's a thing to get excited about. You got a lot of things to be excited about if you're a New York Rangers fan right now heading into this offseason. A lot of things to be excited about. Before we get into Game 4 tonight, St. Louis and San Jose. From St. Louis, let's talk about the Carolina Hurricanes. A couple of things here that are disturbing me about the Carolina Hurricanes. First of all, the pig thing. Before we talk about the celebration, the pig thing. The Carolina Hurricanes, they did some weird things, right? A lot of weird things this year. And the pig, what's his name? Hamilton the pig was one of the latest things. Was one of the later things in the season, I should say. But when you look at Hamilton the pig in the middle of the playoff run, he was looking pretty good. Let me get you a picture of Hamilton the pig here. Look at this guy. Look at this adorableness. Look, he's carrying a puck. He's kicking a puck around. Let's bring this up on the big screen for you guys so you can see. You can see my man Hamilton the pig. Look at him. Look at him in all his glory. Look, he's just got the puck. Look, he's kicking the puck around. And the puck in his snout right there. That was Hamilton the pig during the playoffs. Here's Hamilton the pig today. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see why having live mascots in sports is not a good thing? He's just a pile of bacon now. There he is. Look, you can see the Columbus Blue. Look, you see the Carolina Hurricanes red in there. That's just a shame. That's just a real shame. I bet you he's delicious as all hell, though. I mean, if you're a Hurricanes fan, you got to be like, well, look, he brought us a lot of luck. That was nice. And now he's just going to go good alongside our eggs. It'll be a nice little thing. We'll get some eggs and bacon going. There he goes. Hamilton the pig, still contributing to this day, albeit in a different caloric form. Let's talk about the Carolina Hurricanes. Here's the thing that's disturbing me. I couldn't really understand why I was starting to hear rumbles of them not building upon what they've done so far in this offseason. But that is really dominating the conversation right now. And if I'm a Carolina Hurricanes fan, I'm freaking out. More so than being served Hamilton the pig on top of my burger. I'm panicking in a big way because we already kind of heard rumblings that Don Waddell was going to step aside. Actually, we heard that because he said it in an interview that he was going to look to hire a general manager and go back to his presidential role and kind of step back a little bit. We heard that already. Guys, don't forget thumbs up on the video. And I see we got a lot of people watching the video and not a lot of thumbs up on there. So hit the thumbs up on Facebook or YouTube or on both if you can. Appreciate that in a big way. And don't forget to share these videos as you're watching them. It always helps. You guys are the only way we market the show. So make sure you hit that share button. But the Carolina Hurricanes were a huge success story this year. And Don Waddell was nominated for General Manager of the Year, which was great. He's so deserving of that. He did a really good job. I questioned some of his moves, letting Skinner go, and then, the Hamilton trade. And some of these things I wasn't really all that crazy about, but tried and true. It turns out that he actually wound up building a great team. He actually, in 1 year, built a better team in Carolina than he was ever able to build as the general manager for the Atlanta Thrashers. So think of that what you will. But again, his moves were a lot more shrewd and a lot better this time around. He was integral in hiring Rod Brind'Amour as the coach, which I think may have been the Carolina Hurricanes' best move in the offseason. He was a huge help bringing in Brind'Amour, or I should say, giving him the final okay, giving him the go-ahead to become the head coach, finally step up to the big seat. Chris, thanks for sharing in all your hockey groups. Yeah. By the way, if you guys are on Facebook hockey groups, put the show in the hockey group right now. Definitely put it in the hockey group. That is a huge, huge help. But, when I hear Waddell wants to step back, okay, that's one thing. I kind of get it. He's an older guy. He wants to just take his time and do his thing. But then I start to hear and see some other things. And if you go back to the Hockey Talk Show last year, and part of the criticism that really turned me off to Carolina was Chuck Hayton. Chuck Hayton was the play-by-play guy for the Carolina Hurricanes. He had come over from the Hartford Whalers. And if you're new to the Hockey Talk Show, you're unfamiliar, not only did I used to work for the New York Islanders, but the reason why I left the Islanders was to pursue a career in broadcasting. And I have a fairly successful morning show on Long Island in New York. So that's what I do. So I'm a very big fan of radio people. And Chuck Hayton was absolutely one of the legends. I remember the first time that I saw Chuck Hayton when I was working for the New York Islanders, because I worked for the media department. And every time Carolina would come in to play the Islanders, I spent the entire night next to Chuck, because unlike every other single radio play-by-play team, department, whatever, he did the whole entire game by himself. Just him in a booth by himself. He spoke about the game, calling the plays, commenting on them, throwing stats and highlights and everything else out there entirely by himself. You have no idea what an undertaking that is for somebody. Most, radio teams are play-by-play, color, producer, engineer, right? You can get 4 guys in a booth. Sometimes 3. Chuck was one guy. He did it all by himself. It was unbelievable. And Tom Dundon bought the team, and he came in there and he said, Chuck, I appreciate your time, but I got to make you take a pay cut. Now, I don't know what play-by-play guys are making in the National Hockey League. In fact, it varies. Some of them probably do really well in 6 figures. Some of them might not even be there. There are some pretty small market teams. Radio's influence, especially in hockey, has dwindled. It's not baseball. But whatever he was making, even if he was making $150,000, which maybe, why would you come in and how? You're a National Hockey League franchise. You're dealing with payrolls around $60 million. I understand making some cuts, but to cut the play-by-play guy that does everything by himself, who's already saving you money, and asking him to take a pay cut, a 20% pay cut, I thought was disgusting and ridiculous. And I thought it was an indicative of a really, really bad owner. So fast forward, the Carolina Hurricanes go through the first part of the year. Christmas comes, and then they start taking off and just tearing it up. And I'm like, wow, maybe there's something here. Maybe this Tom Dundon is a genius. They wind up beating the Stanley Cup champion Washington Capitals. They sweep the New York Islanders. By the way, how weird is it? that the Islanders swept Pittsburgh, Carolina swept the Islanders, and now Boston swept Carolina. That's just so bizarre. If Boston gets swept by San Jose, sorry, St. Louis fans. I mean, I feel like we definitely need to turn Hamilton into bacon, because we're gonna have to sacrifice something to the gods, because that's an omen. I don't know what it means, but it friggin' means something, and it's freaking me out. But they go on this terrible, they go on this amazing tear, and then you start to think, well, maybe this Tom Dundon is a genius. Maybe he had all the right moves in play and ready to go. And now that the season is over, and again, we're hearing such wonderful tales and some phenomenal stories. Their season ticket deposits are through the roof for next season and all this wonderful stuff. Sheldon Ferguson, who's one of their scouts, let go just recently. Excuse me, still getting over some allergies. Just recently, let go. Now, you're looking at one of the teams that maybe drafted the absolute best. When you go up and down this roster, all right, Teravainen came in, Niederreiter came in, but Martinook, Svechnikov, Fogle, Aho, McGee, like all these guys were drafted. They have a phenomenal scouting department, and you're letting scouts go? Maybe you have your reasons, differences of opinions. I don't know. I don't know Sheldon Ferguson, but I know that when you have one of the best scouting staffs, because you have some of the best youth on the ice that just took you to the Eastern Conference Finals, you should probably do whatever you need to do to keep them together. John Forsland and Trip Tracy, who do the color and play-by-play on the TV side, don't have contracts for next season. That's scary. Both of your goaltenders are unrestricted free agents, and Peter Mrazek, in his end of the season tweet, said, "Thanks, Carolina." And I'm going off to get a $6.5, $7 million payday, and I know there's no way these guys are going to pay me that. Curtis McElhinney, also an unrestricted free agent. But the thing that's really, really worrisome is Sebastian Aho is an RFA. Michael Furland is a UFA. And I feel like Justin Williams is a UFA as well. And I don't know if Justin Williams is going to get the money that Justin Williams deserves. Because I'm looking at this and I'm seeing the Carolina Hurricanes and I'm seeing nothing but this guy doesn't have a contract. This guy is going up to a different position, doesn't want to do the job anymore. And by the way, supposedly Don Waddell was asked to take a pay cut this year if he gives up the general manager title, which he plans on doing. And you've got your star in Sebastian Aho, the guy that when you traded Jeff Skinner, you were like, we're building around this kid. This kid's got the goods. He's now sitting there as an RFA, and the rumors that are going around are there are no plans to give him a long-term, big, fat contract that he's gone out there and deserved. And by the way, you're talking about a team that is legit on the absolute floor. They're sitting there this season with $28 million in cap space. I am terrified if I'm a Carolina Hurricanes fan, because again, you're looking at the guy that let go of the radio guy and asked him to take a 20% pay cut. That's how cheap you're operating on? That's the level of cheapness that you're operating on? Your TV guy goes to the end of the year with no contract? Look, it happens, but John Forsland was with the Carolina Hurricanes back in the Hartford Whaler days. You don't let a guy like that, who is that talented, who is also your national broadcaster, walk away. You just don't do it. It's not a way to operate a team. I'm worried for the Carolina Hurricanes. It's not like Dundon doesn't have the money. He laid out $250 million to bail out the American Football Association, whatever the hell that thing was called. He's a sneaky guy, by the way. We found out later on that the reason why he floated that football league was so that he can get their app, which had these amazing gambling abilities. But now you're sitting there and you're just like, oh, now's the time to add. I understand being careful. Again, I said the same thing with the Rangers. Now may not be the year to go out there and sign 3 unrestricted free agents. Go get Panarin. You want to add another one? Cool, maybe. But it's not the time to go out there and give away all of your cap space. That's what John Davidson's going to do. John saying John Davidson should have been done centuries ago. Love it, my man. I agree. But things take time. Timing is everything. And you had Glenn Sather, who was a good guy, too. Glenn Sather had a lot of success. His time for general manager maybe ran a little bit too long, but he was good as a president. He was really good as a president. But again, you shouldn't go crazy if you're the Carolina Hurricanes. But if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, now's the time to spend a little money. Now's the time to make sure Aho gets paid. Now's the time to tell 37-year-old Justin Williams, what do you want to come back for 1 year? Let's try and do this again next year. Justin Williams was a huge part of this. He was the right hand to Rod Brindamore's left hand. You know what I mean? They were just one and the same. So if I'm Carolina, I'm spending. I just got a whole buttload of season ticket deposits. I'm taking my money and I'm adding to this franchise, not subtracting. If we find out in the next couple of days that John Forsland goes, if we find out in the next couple of days that Sheldon Ferguson wasn't the only scout to be let go, if we find out that Aho doesn't have an offer on the table by the time the Stanley Cup is handed out, we are in trouble. We are in trouble. Your rear end will wind up just like Hamilton the Pig's rear end. Like this. Like fried bacon. If you don't get it done. Let's circle back to the Rangers for a second here before we get to San Jose and St. Louis. I've said this often on the show. I've had the chance to work with him. I don't like him. I never liked him in the locker room. I don't like him now. And I really, really don't like him now that he's a desperate newspaper guy that is just out of touch and desperately trying to cling on to any sort of influence whatsoever. But dumb Larry Brooks wrote a story about Panarin coming to the Rangers, which is fine. And he was exploring, the possibility of Evgeny Malkin coming to the Rangers. Look, we've talked about this before. Larry Brooks stinks, and he makes up outlandish horse crap to get people to pay attention to him, and it's all bupkis. Evgeny Malkin is not being traded, and even if he is, he's not going to the New York Rangers. Why, Ant? Why is it not possible? But Larry Brooks said, Larry Brooks is an idiot. The Rangers have nothing to offer the Pittsburgh Penguins in exchange for Evgeny Malkin. You know the amount of first-round draft picks it's going to take to get Evgeny Malkin away from the Pittsburgh Penguins? That's not something you want to give away if you're the New York Rangers. The thing that made me laugh out loud hysterical was he legitimately said that in exchange for Evgeny Malkin, they could send Jimmy Vesey and Ryan Strome and a couple of other guys. Have you lost your mind? Why don't you take a pile of poop while you're at it? Nobody wants Ryan Strome. He stinks. Jimmy Vesey has never panned out. On what planet would Jim Rutherford... I can get my 3-year-old son to skipper the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he would turn around as general manager and go, I'm not taking Ryan Strome for Evgeny Malkin. No way. So the idea that Larry Brooks thinks that this is even... it's embarrassing at this point. It is embarrassing. If I'm the New York Post, I would fire Larry Brooks in a second. He stinks. He makes up the worst drool ever. Now, there were rumors that if Kenny Malkin was going to get traded, we addressed that on this show. I think they were putting a scare into him. That's what I think. And we know that because he showed up at the Worlds and he was like, look, I had a bad season, right? He made his peace with it. He came out and said he had a bad season. He knows he had a bad season. I think that's where all those rumors were swirling around. But there is no way. He's got a no movement clause on top of all. Do you know how impossible it's going to be to trade Evgeny Malkin? And the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to want some talent in return, not friggin' Ryan Strome, who is a waiver wire pickup at this point. In what planet? You can't. The NHL, the EA Sports NHL games have gotten even so good now that you can't pick somebody up off of waivers and trade them for somebody. Even they know that that doesn't work anymore, and that's a friggin' video game. But Larry Brooks is sitting there in his dream dimension world going, oh, yeah, maybe Ryan Strome and Jimmy Vesey. You got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. We're really starting to hear some more hubbub, though, that Phil Kessel and the Pittsburgh Penguin head coach never got along. They haven't gotten along. And I would hate to see Kessel go. I don't think you need to make any changes. As I said the last time I evaluated the Pittsburgh Penguins, and we're going to move off of this very, very quickly. The problem is not Malkin, Crosby, or Kessel. The Pittsburgh Penguin or Gensel. The Pittsburgh Penguins' issues is everything below that. They have nothing below that. They have a roster filled with Ryan Stromes that don't even score as many goals as Ryan Strome. And that's where they need to make some adjustments. That's where they need to fix some things. I think Olli Maatta stinks. He's never panned out. He's never become the defenseman that they thought he was going to be. They need to move on from Olli Maatta. Like, these are the problems that the Pittsburgh Penguins needs to fix. Not trading Evgeny Malkin for Ryan Strome. For the love of God. Jesus. Should we roll through some other rumors, or do you want to go to St. Louis, San Jose tonight? Game 4. Exciting. Exciting series. You know what's crazy? The first round for the National Hockey League was great. Aside from the Islanders sweeping the Pens, the National Hockey League squeezed a lot of juice out of that first round. We talked about the second round even being good, even though Carolina swept the Islanders. They squeezed a lot of juice out of the second round. Ratings, revenue up in the playoffs for the National Hockey League so far in the postseason. It's all a good sign. But I got to think at this point now that you had a sweep in every single round, which is not uncommon to happen, but a sweep in the Eastern Conference Finals, that hurts a little bit. That hurts the National Hockey League a little bit. You need your conference finals to go 5, 6, 7 games. So that definitely hurts a little bit. Let's talk about San Jose, St. Louis, and then we'll get into some free agent rumors, and then we'll lock it up and get ready for the game tonight, which we are at time of broadcast 1/2 hour away from. A couple things that the Sharks and St. Louis Blues need to look out for. San Jose needs to get their middle 6 forwards kind of going a little bit here. I think that they need to just put their heads down and continue working. What worries me is Boston moving on. Everybody is so eager to write the Joe Thornton versus Boston Bruins story that you can't overlook St. Louis. I'm picking San Jose in the series. I still think they're going to win the series, but I think St. Louis will win tonight at home. St. Louis is a damn good team. I'm going to be really looking to Binnington to see how he looks in the first 5 minutes, because he was on tilt after the hand pass goal from Game 3, which, by the way, I didn't even really mind that much. It was a hand pass. It should have been called. I don't mind. I mean, I do mind. I would like the refs to get everything, but I understand, when you're a fan and you're rooting for it. When I'm rooting for the Islanders, I'm crazed. Everything, the logic leaves. But when you let all that go and you look at it as a hockey person, referees lose calls. They miss calls all the time. You had one referee that could make that call. The other linesman was at the blue line, and what's his name, who swatted the puck, his back was to him, so he couldn't really see this movement, the linesman. The other referee is back in the neutral zone where he's supposed to be, so he's far away and can't see the play either. And the other linesman is even farther back from him. So I understand that they missed the call. It's going to happen the way it kind of came about. But much like the offsides rule, I would put something in the rule books that would let that go. Because it's not like he looked for his guy and batted the puck to him. He was just trying to move the play along. I thought it was a good goal, actually, if they would have changed the rule. By rules, it should have been a penalty. It should have been a hand pass, should have been called and whistled down. I'm not arguing with that. But there are some of these instances where, again, and the league has done a great job with the rules, a really, really great job with the rules. And they fixed a lot of things. They're not done yet, but they fixed a lot of things. But go back to the Buffalo, Dallas Stanley Cup final. Remember the skate and the blue paint and remember that insanity? Like there were plays that weren't even affecting the play, and they were whistling down because of the dumb rules. We're kind of getting into that a little bit with the offsides, with guys going off for a change and it counting as offsides, and like this play with the batting of the glove. There's got to be, we got to loosen up some of these regulations. I know everybody is so quick to throw in more replays, and everybody is so quick to balance that out by saying we don't want to slow our game down. But I think we got to kind of just look at some logical stuff and fix things as they go along. I do think the National Hockey League is awfully nervous about the Stanley Cup Finals, and I do think that they are going to take a bigger hand in reviewing the goals. I would not be surprised whatsoever if you hear the National Hockey League announce that they are going to be reviewing every single goal scored from the Situation Room in Toronto into the finals. I also don't think it's crazy to do that in the finals because you're literally worried about one game a night. Even in the playoffs, where it's still one game a night, especially into this third round, I think it's too much. If you want to do it, fine, but you can't do it in any other round. You can't do it in the regular season when there's 8 games a night. Lou, what's up? If the Sharks win the Cup for the year that they hold it, we should temporarily call it the Stained Cup. Did I get that right? Why? Because the referees are all in their favor? Is that why? That's pretty funny. Lou, do you know anything about Vegas? I was reading something the other day about a practice facility in Henderson, which I didn't get because I thought the Vegas practice facility was new and in Henderson. I thought I read something about they wanted to build a new practice facility in Henderson, but I thought you guys had a new rink there. Maybe I'm mistaken. I would love to get your thoughts on that. Andre, go Bruins. Glad to watch the Hockey Talk show. It's good to have you here, my man. I don't think the Rangers want Malkin's salary. They don't. They don't. The Rangers, again, you just saw Capo Caco. Like, this guy is ridiculous. He's ridiculous. You have so much youth and excitement coming for the Rangers. Be patient. Be patient. Capo Caco and Panarin and John Davidson making some moves here, and you got some pieces. They got that Russian kid from the KHL. Like it's happening, Ranger fans. It's happening. This is the time to be super excited. Super excited. You know, again, like I said, you want to go out there and scoop up another one of the top free agents. I'm not going to argue with that, but I wouldn't go more than 2 on the Rangers. And I know we all want to welcome Matt Zuccarello back, but honestly, if you had the choice between Matt Zuccarello and Ryan Dzingel, I'm sorry, but I'm going Dzingel. I'm going Jeff Skinner too, even though supposedly he has a little bit of an attitude problem. Let's see. On Vegas and the Henderson thing, they will be starting practicing at CNA. I'm thinking they use it for an obstacle practice in privacy if they want a private practice with no fans there for whatever reason. Yeah, but didn't they just build a new place, or is that an old place? That's what I'm so confused about. That's what's a little confusing for me. There was another point I wanted to make about Vegas too, but it was like 7 days ago. Now I can't remember what it was. So for St. Louis, I think they take the game tonight to wrap this up quickly. I like Patrick Maroon in some of these pressure situations here. I like David Perron. He's kind of slowed down a little bit. I'd like to see him pick it up a bit. But I think St. Louis takes it tonight. I think this thing goes 6, if not 7. I think it's still San Jose. But I think that you're going to see St. Louis come out firing tonight. City National Arena is in Summerlin. It's new. Oh, so they want to move from Summerlin to Henderson? Is that what I'm understanding? Is that what I was missing? Maybe that's why. Missed the suburbs part of Vegas. Thinking about moving to Vegas. Everybody I know who lives in Vegas is just friggin' happy as hell. It's like warm weather all the time, amazing entertainment, really good restaurants. They have a hockey team now. I swear to God, I don't even know. Andre, my finals call is Sharks and San Jose and Boston. Obviously, I think we're gonna have the Joe Thornton versus the Bruins series that everybody wants, and I'm really worried that San Jose is gonna come up short yet again. Because look how great Boston is. Boston is just so good from top to bottom. Tuukka Rask is a monster and an animal. Brad Marchand has done everything correct with a couple of little flare-ups here and there. He's been the exact pest that you want. Bergeron, I could use a little bit more out of him, but I'm not hating on him because his line's not giving up goals. You know what I mean? And again, that mid-bottom six is just so damn good. So damn good. They are going to be tough. And now they're sitting there on a sweep with a lot of rest while St. Louis and San Jose continue to beat the hell out of each other. I mean, it's hard to pick against Boston. It really, really is. It really is. You know, all the diehard hockey fans, I feel like if you're diehard like me, where you love the game and you love the players, and you sit there and you look at this and you go, man, Boston just won. I would love to see Joe get one. By the way, when I was working for the Islanders, Joe was with Boston still. And I had a couple of interactions with him. One in particular, and I'll never forget, the Zamboni was cleaning the ice prior to the game, after warm-ups and prior to the game in the Coliseum. And something happened where the guy dropped the back end down a little too fast, and a huge chunk of the ice came up. And I remember Joe and I wound up having a long conversation about it. And I never really bothered the players. They were all getting ready. I was never in a after morning skate, sometimes you would talk with your own players, never really the opposing team's players. But we were down there because I had to be down there for their media guys. And Joe hung out outside the locker room in the hallway next to me. And we just shooting the biz, talking about this thing for a while. He was like the biggest sweetheart of a guy, really, really sweetheart of a guy. And I just think, how do you not root for him? It's like rooting for Ovi last year. Let me see here. Back to the Henderson rink. No, just making the facility, still playing practice in Summerlin. Just a rink out there, which they may use when they want to do stuff without fans there. Got it. In Summerlin, every practice is literally full of people losing their minds. Isn't that great, though? I freaking love Vegas. I might move to Vegas. Feels like a move to Vegas. Lou, I'm going to expect you to help me find a real estate agent if I actually wind up making this move. Let's see. I feel like, wasn't there offices in Henderson, too? Before they got T-Mobile Arena, weren't they operating out of Henderson or something to do with Henderson? Half of them live there or some stuff. Real deal. JD is a bum. He's a failed GM. Here's how I know you don't know your ass from your elbow. He was never a general manager, idiot. Never, not even once close to a general manager. He was always a president. He went from player to broadcaster to president. Never a general manager. You can't fail at something you never were. Even though, real deal, you failed at making a good comment. She never made one. It's stupidity. If you don't know how talented and wonderful of a person JD is, I can't help you. I just can't help you. Again, somebody else that I had time, that I spent some time with during my time working for the league, for the Islanders. Dude, I'll Netflix and chill and hang out. Hell yeah, man. As long as it really legit means Netflix and chill, not like, other Netflix and chill. I'm down with that. Yeah, is Vegas as good as it seems? It just feels like it. It just feels like it is. I got like 2 million people there. I got like almost 3 million here on Long Island. It's starting to get a little crowded. What's your sales tax situation over there? Send me some houses that are up for sale in your neighborhood. Boston is cooking on all cylinders right now. Absolutely. Thornton might get hurt in that series. I tell you something, they wouldn't take it easy on him. Those Bruins don't take it easy on anybody. Anybody. No state tax. Man. Man. Might have to go to Vegas. Might have to go to Vegas. Pierre LeBrun is reporting that Jason Spezza, at 36 years old, wants to continue playing in the National Hockey League. There's not going to be a lot of people that want Jason Spezza. So the rumors are starting to swirl that he's going to return to Ottawa. It makes sense. He's a name. He'll sell some jerseys. He'll sell some tickets. He's not going to help him win, but not much is going to help him win there. So I don't know. Let's get to some questions, and then we're going to wrap it all up here. I got to go and eat some dinner. I could smell dinner cooking downstairs. JD has been a failure since 1979 when he choked in the finals and cost the Rangers a cup. Why are you so angry, Real Deal? Are you a Ranger fan? Because every other Ranger fan is excited right now, and rightfully so. I mean, yeah, look at this. Rob, as a Jackets fan, I disagree with you. Of course. Look at what he did for the Jackets. The Jackets went from a joke to a real established franchise. He brought stability to that front office. If anybody has ever worked in a place where the owner or the manager is a wreck, how is the rest of that place to work at? It's a wreck. Stability trickles down from the top. You've got to have great ownership and good management. If you don't have that, it doesn't matter how great your front office is, how great your scouts are, how great your general manager is, what your forwards are like, what your power play is like. None of it matters. If you're a mess at the top, you're a mess throughout the entire organization. No two ways about it. If you're in a place and you can never turn that corner and you can never make that move, if you can never take that next step, look at the top, because that's where the problem starts. The problem is always up at the top. We've all worked at dysfunctional places where the owner or the manager kind of sucked and wasn't good. Maybe they were indecisive. Maybe they were mean. Maybe they were just shitty people. Who knows? Whatever it is, doesn't matter how good the people are underneath it, you'll never be able to advance. JD brings stability. I don't know if he slept with your cousin or something 40 years ago or cost you money on a bet. I'm not sure where the anger's coming from. But JD, in this instance, is a genius move. Genius move. Because he gets James Dolan out of it. And James Dolan, by the way, is part of that dysfunction I was just talking about. John, good questions here. Let's see. I want to answer John's question. Let me answer Rob's question first. So, Ann, are the Jackets back to the bottom feeders again? The Jackets are in a smidge of trouble. You're going to lose Panarin. I'm more terrified about losing Bobrovsky. They went ahead and picked up, what's his name? My man from the Devils, who's actually a Long Island, was actually born 20 minutes from where I'm doing the show from right now. Kincaid, right? You got Kincaid and the other goalie who was there that they weren't so hot on, which made them go out and get Kincaid. What's his name? Corpusalo. To me, you got a goaltending issue here. And the one saving grace might be the Carolina Hurricanes. Because if you can go up and scoop Mrazek, maybe you can keep yourself even keeled. I feel like there's enough offense on this team to do okay, which is kind of sick to think about if you're going to lose Panarin, Dzingel, and Duchesne. But, I mean, some of the rumors have been that maybe Duchesne will stay. I know that hasn't really been out of the question. So if you keep one of them, I think it'll be all right. I don't think they're going to be bottom feeders. And by the way, let's not discount how much cap space is worth. Cap space is everything. Look at what George McPhee did in Vegas because he had unlimited cap space. I mean, he almost got Eric Carlson because of the cap space he had. Don't underestimate cap space, especially this season, Rob, because if you look at the UFAs that are out there, a lot of teams are going to have to make some moves in order to keep their guys. And reaching out and trading with a team that has cap space to take money on is going to be an asset. You're going to be able to pick up some good players along with that added money in order to improve your franchise. So I don't think that the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to be bottom feeders, but their goaltending is going to be an issue. That is going to be an issue. Bobrovsky is a 2.53 goals against, 9.13 save percentage. Guy's a beast, and he got hot in the playoffs, and they almost made that run. So that's going to be the thing to replace for me. And there's not a ton of goaltending depth out there. In fact, out of the top 25 free agents that I have on my list here, there's only one goaltender in that top 25. And the 25th top free agent is Ron Hainsey, and he's 38 years old. So that just kind of goes to show you where the free agents are in this world. Peter Mrazek is maybe the only guy worth it. And by the way, he had one hell of a season this year. Who knows what he's going to be like next year? There's no guarantees with Peter Mrazek. He was touch and go with Detroit. He was touch and go when he got here to Carolina. He only recently won that starting job. So is he a good couple of months goalie, or has he finally turned the corner? Only time will tell. And when you're about to shell out $6 million or whatever it's going to take to get a Peter Mrazek, you're taking a risk there for sure. For sure. Let's see here. What do you see the Islanders doing this summer? Do you see Oliver Wahlstrom making the roster out of camp? John's question. Do you think the Islanders go who do you think the Islanders go for free agent-wise this offseason? Does Belmont play a role? And, John, clarify the Belmont rumors you're talking about because I hear a lot of stuff about Belmont. So I want to know what exactly rumor you're talking about. Please tell me this arena project is still a go. Yeah, arena project is still a go. The last word we have on this absolutely is from Lou Lamoriello saying that shovels in the ground this summer. And he seemed pretty confident on it. I still am pretty confident on the Belmont project. The only rumblings we have of any opposition is from this shadow organization that's backed by some billionaire that's going to try and develop the land himself. He's trying to sneak in through the back door. I think there's too much money and too much influence from Ledecky and Malkin. They're aligned with all the right people. I, honest to goodness, can't see this slipping out of their hands. I wouldn't worry about the Belmont thing just yet. But if we're sitting here in August and there hasn't been a shovel in the ground, then you can start to panic. But right now, I wouldn't worry about it at all. I see Lou Lamoriello, Barry Trotz, and the prospect of building a new arena as three really good points for the Islanders to land a free agent. That being said, be careful what you wish for, because you just let one big fat ego walk away and look how much better you did. So whoever comes in here has got to be the right type of player. I mean, really got to be the right type of player. It's sexy to talk about Panarin and Duchesne and Skinner because there's a ton of offense there. But, the move might be looking at a Joe Pavelski or Gustav Nyquist. Like, maybe the really good, responsible, hardworking 20, 25 goal scorer is the better move than throwing a lot of money at a Panarin or a Jeff Skinner who just put 40 goals in the net. And Panarin's got the most points out of any free agents out there. Might not be the best move for this team, for the Islanders. That's my feeling. And to go back to Real Deal's point, which you finally started making some sense. I like that, Real Deal. Don't get too wrapped up in free agents. Take a look at who you have coming down the pipe here. Oliver Wahlstrom, Kiefer Bellows, Noah Dobson is having the major junior season of a lifetime. There is no better player in Major Junior. In fact, the Memorial Cup is tonight. I'm going to watch it. I suggest everybody watch it too. If you're not into Sharks St. Louis, I think the NHL Network usually carries the Memorial Cup. If you have the chance to watch Memorial Cup, watch it. It's so much fun. It's great hockey. Major Junior in Canada, 4-team tournament. It's phenomenal. Watch it, especially if you're an Islander fan, because Noah Dobson is turning heads. Turning heads. And the Islanders have a pretty good defense. I wouldn't be shocked. If they wound up turning one of those defensemen into a forward and not going the free agent route. It's possible because I think Noah Dobson's going to have a job next year, which means somebody on that D line isn't. Let's see here. I think I answered all the questions. I'm sorry if I missed. Simple question for you to close your show on: Blues or Shark? What's your pick? Sharks? Sharks all the way. Blues tonight. Blues in game 4. Sharks in the series. All the way. Fun talking hockey. Don't forget, even if you saw most of the show, go to the Hockey Talk Show's website, hockeytalkshow.com. Click on the podcast. Listen to a couple of episodes. Listen to a couple of ads. That's how we're making the majority of our funds these days. And it really helps us out support-wise. Hit the thumbs up on the video if you haven't. Hit that share button. Lou, let's go out on your point, my man. And yes, real deal. Nick Leddy being traded for a forward. I wouldn't be opposed to trading Leddy. I really do like him. I think he's got 2 years, 3 years of that diehard speed. So I don't love it, but I'm not opposed to it if it's for the right forward. It's kind of crazy how Boychuk and Leddy were your 1-1A defensemen, how that is so quickly turned over, with them sort of slowing down in age, and also, Pulak and some of those other guys really coming, Devon Taves. I mean, some of these guys really coming to the forefront. I think it is time for Vegas to name a captain. What the hell are the Vegas Golden Knights waiting for? You're going into your 3rd year. Don't go captainless into this 3rd year. Really and truly, don't do it. It's time for the Vegas Golden Knights to name a captain. I propose a video from VGK coverage, Lou, on who you think the next captain should be, and then we can come here and discuss it on the Hockey Talk Show. Follow Lou's channel. He's amazing. VGK coverage does a really, really great job. Rob, John, Real Deal, everybody in the YouTube chat. Chris, you were an all-star today. Andre, John, everybody over there on the Facebook side. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks for sharing the video. Enjoy the hockey tonight. Check out the Memorial Cup if you can. And we will see you on the next episode of the Hockey Talk Show. Have a great night, everybody. Enjoy the hockey. One more shot of Hamilton the Pig as we go. There he is. Gonna miss him. Gonna miss that Hamilton the Pig.